Good morning. Welcome to Viewpoint, your program of personalities, politicians, and perspectives. Good morning, Mrs. Busby.
It's quite a list you have there.
Good morning, guests. We will introduce you shortly. We have that done by an appropriate venue here. She's a real pro at introducing our guests. Mr. Rice is busy twirling dials and making sure I don't say the wrong thing. He's got his hand on the 5-second button over there. We always try it seriously now for just a second here. We always try kudo or two with Viewpoint before we open up with our guest. Judy and I have laughed about an expression of a former neighbor of mine and a former citizen, a great citizen of Logan County, Harold F. Trapp, Jr. He's a brilliant attorney, and he and I used to sit in the backyard in summer weather and visit and so forth, and maybe have a drink, possibly, and a small cigarette, or cigarillo is what he called them. Anyway, we had a deep philosophical discussion one day, Bob, and at the end of the discussion, he says, well, long ago, I came to the lamentable conclusion that by and large, people are just no damn good. So I want to prove that Harold Trapp was wrong. The other day, Gene and I went into that great little spot for lunch, Deep Roots, for their wonderful soups and sandwiches they have there. And I'm going to charge you for a little commercial there, young lady. Anyway, went up to pay after we'd ordered, and the young lady said, your order's taken care of, sir. And I kind of went blank, and I said, "Oh." She says, "Well, he's gone." He said he put some extra money down and says, "Take care of the next two people that come in."
Bless his heart.
So it proved, by gosh, that Harold F. Trapp, people are good, you know.
Oh, yes.
And to this day, I don't know who it was. If we have somebody on the air that knows about it, I certainly, Gene and I want to thank you. That was a very nice gesture. And I made it a mental point to make sure I pay that back because I'm out and about in the community.
Bless your heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Well, you had something you want to expound on.
I do, by your leave.
Your time's up.
I knew it. You know, last night I got to playing that great game, Deja Vu, all over again, and remembering my youth. Bill, you'll remember this. Bob, I'm not sure about your age.
I was just a kid.
Yeah. But, you know, it used to be that as school let out and the summer was about to begin, in a big town north of here that I grew up in called Minneapolis, we'd have this business where you were virtually quarantined. You didn't go any place. You played in your own yard. The radio gave the statistics every several minutes on how many children, because of course the polio epidemic hit the other end of the age spectrum. And they'd say how many children were in the hospitals with polio, how many had died. And Sister Kinney, you'll remember, was a big name, had hospitals where they treated the patients with polio until Jonas Salk came along and invented his wonderful polio vaccine. And hopefully that's what's going to happen this time when we're being quarantined. It's happened before. It's probably going to happen again somewhere down the pike. It just is a fact of life.
Well, the question begs, with this sharing in place, how many divorces are come out as a result of this?
Oh.
Sure. Kids. Yeah. Or, yes, how many new folks are we going to bring about? This is sharing in place.
This morning on TV, there was a young man, football player, professional football player. He had a half a dozen kids. They were 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and brand new or something. And, of course, they were all home because there was no school. And one local commentator said something about his school district having been the first to say we're just shutting her down for the rest of the school year. I don't know how many times that'll happen. I think that's kind of jumping the gun, but I'm not on his school board. I bet he's grateful for that.
Yeah, that's a fine call to make. It's a hard call to make. And the seriousness of that is a spinoff of we have working parents who are used to the kids being in school, and
Yes.
now all of a sudden we have to worry about what they're going to do during the day.
It's a whole different ballgame right now.
So in any event, let's get serious now. We have a guest that's given up his very serious time. He's a busy guy. And let's bring him on there. Let's talk about some things that we want to know about out there on the west side of town.
Bob Sullivan is a very patient man.
Sir Robert Sullivan.
Excuse me. He was very patient with us because we had him scheduled, and I tried to usurp his time with somebody from the health department to talk with us about where we are in this whole spectrum of things. And they are so busy they couldn't possibly. So we called Bob and rescheduled him, and bless your heart, Bob, you're a good man. He's here to represent the Honor Guard and the Legion, and I'm sure we've all seen them at one occasion and another. And we thank you for the work you do for that, Bob. Thank you.
Yeah, especially with reference, Mr. Sullivan, to the Honor Guard. That's an impressive job you do. And by the way, personal comment, you do a nice job of presenting the flag. Some people do that by rote, and it's just they get up and mumble and stumble and fumble. Mr. Sullivan does it with some feeling. And so welcome aboard. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And Judy, yes, I'm old enough to remember when you had measles, chicken pox, mumps. You had a big sign on your house, quarantined.
Yeah, George Seller was a
Can you
health
remember
officer.
that?
He came
No, I do not.
Then I'm a lot older than you, I guess.
I doubt it.
But not as old as Bill.
I'm serious.
Nobody is. So, the American Legion is a very, very important organization in this community. So, let's step for a minute, Bob, to the beginning of the American Legion at the end of the First War. Some of you folks might not remember, we had another war before World War II, and it was a humdinger.
How long were you in that one, Bill?
I had a hard time re-upping for the second one. So, in any event, the American Legion was formed in Paris, I believe. Bob, go ahead with the.
Yes, I don't know the history well enough.
But it was 1919, I
It was
believe.
1919, and the things I do know, though, that it's and a lot of people don't know this, but we're congressional. Our Congress really formed us, and we operate under their jurisdiction. And I say that to bring up a point, that they have set the dates that you had to be in the service to belong to the Legion.
I never knew that.
And there has been a period of time after Korea till about Desert Storm when people served in the service were not eligible to join the Legion. And so there was a vast number of people that we could never sign up. They felt like it was us. Well, President Trump back in, well, I want to say September, October, signed the bill that had been put forth by Congress to open up membership in the American Legion from December 7th, 1941 to the present time. Anybody that served at least one day of active federal service. So that's opened it up now, saying that, and we have signed several people that were not eligible before, but then there's the other ones that said, well, you didn't want me before, so I'm not going to join now. Well, it wasn't that we didn't want them. It was that
There's no opening.
we weren't allowed to,
There was no
to sign
opening,
them.
yeah.
And there's quite a few of those, and so if anybody's listening that we'd like to have new members in the Legion, like every organization, because I think every organization is hurting a little bit on their membership.
Yeah, one of the problems with the Legion is that, and it's not a problem with the Legion, it's just a fact of life with membership in these organizations. Legion has an older membership. And every day, one or two or three or four of us, or half a dozen of us, drop off the rolls because we're no longer here. And dwindling membership makes it very, very, very difficult to run an organization that's as active as Post 263 is here in Lincoln. We have a lot of things going on out there on the west side of town. Let's talk for a minute about now. We had to suspend food service, but that's been a good fundraiser down through the years to have, particularly for some of our high school athletic squads and so forth. The Legion offers them a home to have these benefit breakfasts and so forth. That's a big deal in the community.
Well, it is, and what you're saying, we have lost to death 6 members since the first of the year. We've had more funerals than that, but actual members of the Legion, we've lost 6. And most of them are older, and you're right, our organization, the membership is older, and we have a hard time doing some things that we used to be able to do. We quit the fish fries late last year, quit having the Friday night fish fries, which I've really hated that, but we just haven't got people that have been able to work that. So that had to go. Well, now things have changed altogether out there. We still have the our schnitzel fry on the I think it's the third Thursday. It's this 20th. Is the 20th the third Thursday? Or Friday, I mean?
Friday.
Okay, this is the third Friday of the month. And this time it will be a carryout. Come to the front door and we'll bring you your schnitzels, because we cannot serve inside now due to the regulations. We've had to close the bar as well, so we don't really have much income coming in. And the same way with the meetings, we can't even run our meeting rooms very well because we lost one big one this weekend. We had to tell them we just couldn't do it because they get over 200 people, and so we had to cancel out on them. And I think they're going to. I think they already maybe did reschedule, hopefully. So that's some of the things we're facing like everybody else. But back to your membership thing, that's true of almost every organization, I guess. And we've done pretty well this year of getting some new members. And some of them have come from this fact that there's no longer a age requirement or a time and service requirement. But the younger people just aren't joiners. They're coming.
Yeah, I've been there, done that, and I don't need that, so they go on with their...
Yeah, and it's not just, I mean, it's not just the Legion. It's all organizations.
That's exactly right.
No, I don't agree with you that been there, done that, because most of them haven't done the civic work that those of us that are older have done, but they're very, very locked in with their kids and the club sports and things like that.
These are different times.
Yes.
It's as simple as that. The Legion, tell us about the formation of your... Before we do that, before I step before the firing squad, I'm going to have Mr. Ash bring on our sponsors. Go right ahead, James. And we're back live in the studio here at WLCN. Our guest this morning on Viewpoint is Mr. Robert Sullivan. Bob has been one of those folks who stepped to the front when help is needed, and he's currently a commander of the American Legion Post number 263. Bob, when I first went into the Legion, it was 1946, and I think it's the largest class ever inducted into a Legion organization. It was right after everybody's coming home from the war, and the induction was held, ceremonies were held at the state school in their old gymnasium. And it was the W.W. Fox Memorial Group. Doc Fox was, of course, superintendent of Lincoln State School. That's what we called it then. It became Lincoln Developmental Center. But in any event, we inducted several hundred at that. So that's probably the biggest class that ever was inducted into a Legion group, en masse, so to speak. One of the things that the Legion is noted for here is your honor guard ceremony takes place for deceased veterans. And I've had an occasion to observe, as I said earlier on air, it's done nicely. It's done with seriousness. It's done with a purpose, and it's got to make the families feel good about the way their loved ones have been handled. There's a part of that ceremony where the American flag is presented to the widow or a member of the family, oldest child or whatever, and it's done nicely. You can do those things and kind of read them off of a card and stumble and fumble and anyway, I almost said something else. When it's done that way, it takes away from the whole day. When you step up there and do it with feeling and do it directly from memory, it's a different impact on the family. So we've had that since you've been part of the Legion. We've always had an honor squad here. Is that right?
Yes, yeah.
And you're the current, not only the commander of the Legion Post 263, but you're current commander of the. I guess you have to get shot to get off that firing squad.
Well, I hope not. This is my last few months as commander of the Legion, but and I love the Legion, but I'll be honest, the honor guard is very close to me personally.
Yep.
I think it's.
You take it.
I've talked to so many families and the guys that I work with and girls. We got one right now. But you ask them to do it, and usually at our ages, I got a doctor's appointment is the only reason they can't be there.
Yeah.
And we don't get much notice, maybe 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get a long time, but particularly now that more people are getting cremated, we get a little more notice in many cases. But I'm just driven by that. I'm proud that I'm a member. I'm proud that I'm the commander of it, and I'm proud of the guys because they're there when you need them.
Yeah, that's a thing that I've noted. Even in snarky weather, when it's pretty doggone nasty out, these guys are there, and they're in uniform. They're there cold. They're freezing, not cold, and but they show up, and that's meaningful to the folks who are there at the particular service. To have these guys all show up like that, and each man is each man in charge of his own rifle. Just while they have it. No, we keep them. They're supplied by the military to us. The ammunition is supplied. So we have, some of them don't even want to load them or anything because they've heard of M1 thumbs. Yeah.
But I did it for a long time by myself, and Bill Dennis came in, and I got him to join the Honor Guard and asked him to help, and he's just about taking it over. He comes out and loads them for us, and he takes them and cleans them, and he's been an awful lot of help to us as far as the Honor Guard's concerned. We buy all their uniforms except their cap, and we figure everybody needs a Legion cap that belongs. So we're not limited to, we have members that belong to other Legion posts around that belong there, and we've lost a couple of those. So some of the Legion posts are getting pretty small too. But you have to be a Legion member, but you don't have to be a member of the Lincoln Post.
I wouldn't qualify to be on your honor guard because I only handled a rifle a couple times. Once in basic training, maybe 2 days, and then later on in late 1945, early 46 it was. I was a TDY, temporary duties, waiting to come home from Europe, and they called me into the headquarters and tossed me a rifle and said, "Here, take these guys out. They're cleaning timber, and they know where they're going. They were German prisoners of war." And I looked at that rifle. I said, "I haven't seen one of these since basic training."
Did you have ammunition in it?
That sounds like your job was beyond your job description.
I was above my pay call, I tell you that.
Your pay
So
grade.
anyway, there's half dozen of these Germans in there. Just to keep them busy, they were prisoners of war. They'd sent them out and they were cleaning up wood and so forth. One of them was kind of a Sergeant Schultz, big type guy,
Big bone fellow?
Big bone fellow. I said, "Does anybody speak English?" Then he spoke as I do, Sergeant. And I said, "Well, I just want to tell you, sir, if I have a problem, you're the first one." And I looked at my rifle and looked at him, and he laughed at me. And he says, "Sergeant, What you don't understand is we're sleeping warm and we're eating well. We're fine. You won't have any trouble from us. So I had 2 experiences with the carbine.
Well, we could use you because we got 2 rifles of ceremonials that don't even fire. I'm not sure about holding the flag because on a windy day you're kind of light, you know.
I couldn't hold your flag.
We
I'd
need
blow
some
away.
of the bigger guys with those flags because we've had a couple that just about got blown away, and because we do get out there, it doesn't matter what the weather is, and we've been when it's really cold, we've been when it's raining.
Oh, and by the way, you also go to other cemeteries.
Oh, yeah.
You go to Camp Butler on a regular basis, which is, by the way,
Fairly often we go to Camp Butler. Yeah.
That's where you'll go for me if you're still around when I go.
Yeah, we at one time, well, most of the funerals are still done by a Springfield detail, but at one time, I don't know what happened, but there was a problem there. So they asked me down there, the gal, she said, would you come down here one day a week? And I said,
Oh, really?
I said,
Oh, boy.
I can't promise that. I said, if you told me every Wednesday and we had a funeral, our people take precedence. I said, but we don't mind when we come down. We'll come down early. They run those funerals at Camp Butler pretty much on schedule.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, we'll stay. We'll come early if they don't have a firing squad. We'll stay early and come early and do one for somebody. Or afterwards we'll stay and do the next one maybe. And we have done that on 2 or 3 occasions. But normally we just go down and do our own.
Well, it's an impressive goodbye for a veteran, and it's a nice way. As a matter of fact, I changed my final resting place from a crypt in our church. So we have a very nice columbarium there, very nice. And that's where I was headed, and I decided I wanted to go to Camp Butler with my GI buddies. So that's, if you're still able, you'll be down there.
Well, if I'm not there, there'll be people that will come down, though,
Yeah.
because we prefer to go. We'll go anywhere for one of our members.
Yeah, that's a nice service. It really is. Your finances it makes it difficult. And by the way, this is a plea for all Legionnaires who haven't paid up. Pay their dues, doggone it. Don't let your wife be negligent about letting your bill set lay around somewhere. But seriously, it's difficult it takes a lot of money to run an organization like the American Legion. And you depend upon, not just the dues, you depend upon their fundraiser that they have. And now, of course, we've had to shut these fundraisers down because of this coronavirus thing. Hopefully that'll pass too quickly. But do you have any other thoughts about trying to raise money for the Legion?
Well, we're one of the largest post in our district. Some of the posts just meet they rent a building or they meet someplace. We have a full service bar, food service, 2 meeting rooms, a small meeting room, and of course the ballroom where we hold things, and we rent those out. So that's all income, but we're dues. We don't really get a whole lot out of our dues. About $4 out of the
That's
whole
not
thing
very
that
much.
stays
No.
local, and the rest goes to state and national. But yeah, we need the fundraisers. We're going to continue. Like I said, we had the Schnitzel Fry this Friday from 5 to 7, and we're scheduled to have what we call Lenten specials, walleye, fish, and all the trimmings on the last Friday of March and the first 2 Fridays in April. Well, I think we're going to try to do that on a carry-out basis also, rather than cancel them. Because you're right, we do need the income, and here again, and we're not alone. I know that the other venues in town that have ballrooms or rental rooms like that aren't getting what they used to. These weddings don't have the big receptions that they did. Mm-hmm. We've lost the industry in town, and we used to do an awful lot from the glass factory. They were probably one of our biggest customers because they used our meeting rooms at least once or twice a month, plus the ballroom. And so that's they've hurt us too. And it's harder and harder. We depend a little bit on our gambling machines like everybody else, and that has dwindled thanks to our city fathers. There was a time when they started that you had to have served drinks by the drink. You had to have a liquor license to do that, of course, and then so it was limited. Well, now it seems like almost everybody can have. All they do is open a little side thing, and the city fathers give them. Now they're not losing any money; they're making it, but I don't know if they're making any more. But we don't make near what we did at one time, and I know that the KCs and the Eagles and some of the clubs don't make what they used to make either.
What are you blaming? Is it that this virus, or is it just the times people got tired of it?
No. You mean the gambling?
Uh-huh.
No, it's just that there's so many machines in this town. At one time, there was like 6 or 7 places, and right now I know of 25, and there's probably more.
There's only so much of that money to go around.
There's only so much of that money to go around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are not making a dime off me. I know that.
The drive-thrus, I speak from experience, they go smoothly. When you drive through there to pick up a walleye or whatever, you got schnitzel coming up here this Friday. It's not a hard deal to go through, and you go through there and pick up your carryouts, and you're out of there in no time at all. So I'd urge the folks to take advantage of these experiences when they appear. This Friday we have the first one coming up with a schnitzel. And what time are the hours on that?
I think it's 5 to 7, yes. Mm-hmm. 5 to 7.
Okay, so take your wife out to dinner.
Yeah.
Be gracious.
Well, there might be people that we're not sure, I don't think, what to expect. I think we're going to have a really big crowd, or maybe not that much, but people are going to get cabin fever here pretty quick, and just to go out and get it.
Yeah.
And some people don't like to cook at home all the time, so.
You give a roll of toilet paper out with each dish.
Bill, that's a good idea, but the problem is I don't know where we'd get the toilet paper.
648-5510. 648-5510 is our number. Our guest this morning is Bob Sullivan, commander of the American Legion Post 263, giving of his time to come up here and give us a little history and a little background on a very important organization to our community. Down through the years, the Legion Post has been really very, very important to our community. Many people on air, maybe both of them out there, Judith, won't remember that the original Legion Post was down on Logan Street. Mm-hmm. That was the old W.W. Wetzler Business Club building there, just off of Broadway. And then we went west, and then we had a serious fire, which was a real disaster many years back now. And recovered nicely for that, or still recovering, I should say, probably. We have nice facilities, nice physical plant out there. If you have a wedding that's coming up in your family's future, it might be nice to consider that. Might be a nice place for the reception. Have any immediate things that you're working on right now, Bob, besides, of course, this schnitzel dinner coming up Friday?
Well, it's kind of hard to tell right now what we're doing. There are several things we have to do. We have flag ceremonies. As you know, you've been there when we burn the flags with a proper ceremony, and so we take in a lot. We have, barrels of flags around from time to time. Right now, we've got. We want to have one, but we have to have a day when it's not windy and not wet, and that's been hard to find, but we want to have one soon. But we are planning to have one on Flag Day, 14th of June, like we always do. And I can't say we always do, but we've done it the last 3 years with a full formal ceremony.
Would you explain the flag burning ceremony, Bob, and the reason for that, and just kind of expound on that just a little bit?
Well, it's the proper disposal of the American flag.
We don't just take them and throw them in the trash barrel, folks.
No. We have a fire out there, and we have a ritual that we go through. It's short, and then we burn them, which is the proper way of disposing of an American flag.
And the public's invited to those little ceremonies, and they're very short, as you say, but they're very impressive.
But for the uninitiated, how does one go about taking care of their flag and getting it to you?
Just bring it out when we're open and put it in the bar. In the meantime, though, we do have an old mailbox out on the parking lot, and just put it in there. And we clean that out regularly.
It's designated, so you know what you're doing there. You know that you're not putting your books in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't put your mail in there.
Yeah.
No.
We did find one day, we found a check that they brought a whole bunch over from Forsyth, Illinois. I'm not sure why they brought them here, but they knew we were going to have a ceremony. So we were going through them, and we found this bill in there, a check. And it was about a year old, but it was made out to the water company. Oh. So the guy, I don't know, they maybe shut his water off, I don't know. But I tried to find him, and I couldn't locate him. So I just finally disposed of it. But sometimes we find strange things in there, but it's supposed to be flags, and usually is. Now, while we're talking about flags, on Memorial Day, we always put out flags for that Memorial Day weekend. We put out probably, I don't know, over 1,000 flags. We put them on every veteran's grave that we can locate. Now, sometimes there's no marker or anything that says it, and we'll get somebody that'll call us and say, well, you forgot my father's grave. Well, when you go out, there's nothing there that says it. Right. But we try, and we miss some, but I mean, when you go through that many graves in, I guess, 7 or 8 cemeteries that we do, but we try to get everyone. We put them out usually the Wednesday before Memorial Day, and we pick them up 3 or 4 days after Memorial Day. We don't leave them out all year because they get blown, tattered.
Yeah, it's a nice service you have. By the way, speaking of that, Steenbergen over there in Mount Pulaski, they go all out on those occasions, and that's really something to see, that cemetery over there. Those folks really rally to the flag.
Yeah, I think they have the Memorial Day service there.
I'm not sure
about that. Some do. I know we do Hartsburg's. We furnish the honor guard for Hartsburg because they don't have a very big post anymore. Now they have their Memorial Day service over there. We do that, and then we do ours here, which is another thing that will be coming up hopefully. The VFW has the Veterans Day ceremony for the city, and we have the Memorial Day service every year. So we have that coming up, and I have Colonel Jim Allen as a speaker lined up. So,
in our neighborhood, Troy Hanger and Norman Newhouse started buying the short little flags and lining their sidewalk with them on the appropriate days. And it looks so nice, I thought I'd do that too. And it come a flag appropriate day, it looks real nice in the neighborhood to have the little flags out.
While we're talking about flags, we sell flags at the Legion also. Anybody can come out. We don't really carry the little ones, but we have about 4 sizes of flags for flagpoles. Yes.
I don't think the general public is aware of that at all.
And they're good flags. I mean, I put one up about once a year and leave it up all the time. Mm-hmm. They don't tear up in the wind or anything. They're very good.
Now quality. You have like 3x5s and 4x6s?
Uh-huh.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
Yes, because I've got one getting a little tattered at my house, and so it's time to replace it. I can.
Now you know where to go.
I would know where to go to leave it to get burned, but now I know where to go to replace it, so that's good.
We can probably get the other kind. I mean, if somebody would want them, through our catalog, through the Legion.
The Marine Corps League did a whale of a job in helping us get flags up at the home where I live. We call it the home as we bow our heads. No, that's seriously at the Christian
We have
Village.
very active in the Marine Corps League here.
They're very active, and they do a lot of good.
They do.
For instance, we had a flagpole at the Christian homes that was kind of leaning to the north a little bit. And they came in there and took that. That was a big flagpole, not just a little 10-foot one. And they took that out and straightened it up and went to a lot of work, and it was the Marine Corps League that did that, so it was really nice to have that kind of help out there. And they also helped us put up the small flags that Walmart gave us for our apartments. So
Yes.
what are your major days, the major holidays of the course of the year? Flag Day. What do you do about Flag Day at the Legion, Bob?
We don't do a whole lot other than we have started having the flag burning ceremony on there. We don't have any.
Yes. By the way, I'd like to make the populace aware of watching for that Flag Day burning ceremony. It's a nice thing to see. It's done very simply, very shortly, and it's a very dignified service, taking care of the colors of our country. And who organized that flag burning? Did you do that?
Not really. I mean, we've had it we've always had it. It started about 3 years ago. I was the chairman of that committee for a little while under a couple of past commanders. So we started the Flag Day, I'd say 3 or 4 years ago, using it on Flag Day, which seemed appropriate to do that. There's a lot
This is a
of
high
flag
maintenance
etiquette
cat.
out.
Excuse us.
People don't realize there's a universal flags etiquette and how to handle the flag and when to fly it and when not. And there's misnomers out there. I mean, if you drop a flag on the ground, you don't have to destroy it. I mean, some people think, oh, well, you desecrated the flag. If you threw it down there, yes, then it was desecrated. But I mean, we all have accidents.
Yeah, the old axiom, don't ever let the flag touch the ground. Well, we understand that, but there are circumstances in which it's going to touch the ground and you can't do anything about it, and that's not a big deal.
No, and keeping it lit if it's out all night, we have now you can get the solar lights on the poles. But
Yes. Could you just talk a little bit about flag etiquette? The hours that you're supposed to fly it, how you're supposed to put it up, how you're supposed to take it down, etc.
you put it up swiftly and you bring it down slowly. It's supposed to be lit if you fly it at night. I've often wondered about that one. Is the person that never flies one more patriotic than the person that flies it and leaves it up 24/7
Yeah.
without a light? I have a solar light on mine, but they go out after a while, and sometimes if you don't have sun. What was the other question, Judy?
Just about flag etiquette, the hours that you're supposed to put it up at sundown, up and take it down at sundown or
If you
something?
take it down, it's around sundown, yes. And I don't know how many people, really, I see flags flying in my neighborhood that I think that are up all night long, that they don't go out and do it. There's certain etiquette on how the flag is to be displayed, and I can't really go into that over the radio too well, but the direction of march, for instance, people that have parades, the flag is always on the right, and sometimes we serve as honor guards for civic programs and stuff like that, and it's always kind of a problem because sometimes they want us to bring the flag in and then exit with it as well. And we've always got to have the American flag leading out if they're in a column. And, well, when you get the age of our guys, you're not as spit and polish as we'd all like to be. So there's maneuvers that you could do if in the military, but we prefer to come in from one side and just go out the other side when we do it. So we always got the American flag where it's supposed to be.
And if you have a flag you want to fly it at half staff, there's a way to do that. You raise it up to the top and then bring it down to half staff. Just don't bring it up halfway and walk away from it.
Exactly, and the Universal Flag Code says that only governors and the President of the United States can order this flag to be flown at half staff. But,
We're going to lock me up because I used to put mine up at
Well-
half staff when I lost a friend.
well, individuals, but now mayors do it and
Yeah.
organizations do it, but there again, to me, it's respect that particular organization or town is showing to somebody. But anyway, there are no rules. There's a flag code, but there's no penalties if you don't do what it says.
And by the way, real quickly, it's late March here. June 14th will be here before we know it. Unfortunately, it traveling rolls around real fast now. June 14th, Flag Day. You have plenty of time, lots of time to prepare for that. If nothing else, buy a bunch of these little yard flags and fly them along your sidewalk, but honor our flag on June 14th. Our guest this morning has been Bob Sullivan, who's done a lot of work for the American Legion and our community. And we appreciate you taking your time this morning, Bob. I know Pat's going to fix you another cup of coffee when you get home and tell you to do some dusting or something. But in any event, we're pleased that you would give your time. Do you have a couple of comments you'd like to make before we close?
No, well, yes, one. Please watch the paper for the advertising for our Memorial Day service. But we will have the Memorial Day service at 10:30 on whatever Memorial Day is, which is usually on a Monday now, I think. But and we have a speaker, and that we will have that even if we're still in quarantine. We can do it outside and we have done them outside.
Thank you for being with us, Bob. We're going to close with the usual benediction of the day. Be the reason somebody smiles today. Thank you for Viewpoint.